Now, that's a sad state of affairs. And none of us really like to see any company, auto manufacturer, financial institution fail. Whether they're in Michigan or Missouri or South Carolina, it's heartbreaking to see people lose jobs. But there is something about all of this, though, that just I think most people are troubled by, and that is if a company is manufacturing a product that people don't want to buy, if they are too risky for people to make a loan to them, then why should the taxpayers' money be taken by the government, and there's those families sitting at a kitchen table wondering how they're going to make their ends meet, how are they going to pay their bills, but their taxes are going to be taken to be provided to a company that is providing goods to people who don't want to buy them. Created to be the investor or the lender of last resort. Right. And now we have this bailout mania going on in the spenderama, and we've heard folks talk about it, and I think Americans are clearly becoming more angry, disgusted, and frustrated, and are losing confidence in the ability of their children to achieve the American dream. They're disgusted and losing confidence and becoming more cynical about Wall Street and Washington. And today, in the face of these dire economic situations that we're dire economic straits that we're in, what is the result? What is going on in Congress? They call it a stimulus. But what are they stimulating? They're stimulating the appetite of government to spend more money. And they're spending, this appetite and this spending is like there is no tomorrow. But we all know there will be a tomorrow. And that's why families are so concerned that the American dream could be slipping away. Because as Washington loads us with more and more debt, people recognize that someday there's going to have to be a payment of that debt. And there's a worry of rampant inflation and higher interest rates when the government has to pay higher interest to foreign and domestic investors on that debt or the government bonds. And that's why people like Americans for Prosperity and others recognize, and I think the American people, as they learn more and more about this, recognize this is not the way to go. Now, what Congress and the President should be doing is taking action to adopt ideas that will enhance the ability of people to find work, for people to invest, create services or goods or products that people want to buy, rather than the government carrying on with this sort of dependency. Because the American dream allows people to compete and succeed. And Americans need freedom, not dependency. We want responsibility. What we want to see is responsible, disciplined, honest, smarter government rather than new ways to spend our money. And that would be a change all of us could believe in. Experiences in the Senate, and especially as governor of our Commonwealth of Virginia, and Susan and I thank you for allowing us to serve you in a lot of different ways through the years. I know that how our ideas and principles could be put to work into practice, and they actually improve people's lives. These days do remind me a lot of 1993. In 1993, President Clinton was just sworn into office. We're running for governor, groveling, hoping to get $25 contributions. Through it all, and they said we had a snowball's chance and so forth. But and then we talked, though, as a group, though, of what we wanted to do. And it was an insurgent campaign. And it was principles, there was reform ideas, we addressed the challenges facing the people of Virginia, and when we got elected, we kept our promises. We, the 18, all of these ideas were not just me, they were not just our administration. These are ideas that the people of Virginia wanted. And it was the will of the people to get these things done because they had a Democrat legislature in those days and they didn't particularly like some of these ideas. So what we were able to do is really set the example for the rest of the country in these reforms. Instead of the lenient dishonest parole system, we instituted truth in sentencing, and the people of Virginia are safer and there are fewer victims. We promoted the work ethic rather than rewarding idle behavior, and now billions of dollars have been saved, and people are leading independent, self-reliant lives. Kay James, in fact, I got a kick out of the Obama campaign with their "Yes We Can" slogan. Some of y'all might remember Kay James had these buttons, "Yes We Can," on our welfare reform efforts back in the mid-1990s. We wanted to make sure that the world knew that Virginia was open for business. We had a blue ribbon task force to look for ways to reduce government spending, make sure regulations were based on sound science, not political science. And we brought in high academic standards. And Rick, you're a big help in all of that, and accountability in our schools. So our students down in Virginia are getting better prepared and able to enter the world of work. And these are kitchen table issues. These are the sort of things folks at their kitchen table can understand, and they have a positive impact on people's lives. And that's the reason I bring these up, is that you can measure that success. And if you have those ideas, people will resonate or will come with us and say, hey, that makes sense. That's a good idea. And with delegates like Ben Klein and Brenda Pogge and Delegate Fralin there and others, Lee Ware, I guarantee you their ideas and their efforts are going to pay off. You talk about the right to work laws in Virginia. That's a great selling point for our state. It comes down to freedom, the freedom of an individual to decide for him or herself whether or not they want to join a union. They should not be compelled to join a union as a condition of work, which then gets into this so-called card check issue, which takes away a private ballot. So you can have the unions, what the unions want to do is come up to folks and say, here, sign up for this union. And they say, well, no, wait a second, I don't want to sign up. They say, no, wait a second, you sign right here. You sign it, and they intimidate them. Now, if some country were having an election and they didn't have private ballots, we would not consider that a genuinely fair election. We'd be saying, oh, the police or the government authorities are intimidating these people to vote the way that they want them to vote. And so, my goodness, here in America, this is going to be a big battle in the Senate in particular. And I would hope that no senator from a right-to-work state would ever vote to do away with private secret ballots. There's going to be other issues. With our academic standards and measurement in place where you can tell which schools are doing well and which schools are not doing well, I think one of the great next reforms is going to be school choice. When I was in the Senate, we passed a school choice measure. Rick Sharp was a big advocate and has been on this for a long while. In D.C., the District of Columbia is under the jurisdiction of Congress, and put in a school choice approach where 1,700 scholarships are provided to students in the district. It's overwhelmingly popular. I think that in enlightened states across the country will be moving forward on these reforms, particularly for students who are in schools that are clearly failing. Now, our greatest challenge right now, the number one concern across the country, is the economy. And Virginians, we have a great example of what we were able to do in the efforts we made in economic development. It's lower taxes, less regulation, emphasis on education, safe communities, quality infrastructure, as well as energy prices that matter a great deal. We completely transformed the Commonwealth into the Silicon Dominion. And these same policies apply today in Virginia, they apply for our nation. And don't just take my word for it. Forbes magazine, Bill Moore probably reads it all the time. Forbes magazine, again, rates Virginia very high. They rate all the states as what are states that are good states to do business. Virginia rates very well, and this was last year. Let me quote from Forbes. Many factors are considered in these rankings, including economic quality, economic climate, quality of life, educated workforce, regulatory environment, with the cost of doing business usually weighed most heavily. These business costs measure the tax burdens on business, the cost of labor, and energy costs. While the cost of energy has risen nationwide in recent years, Virginia's rankings continue to benefit greatly from energy costs that are 30% below the national average, end quote. Now, the truth is, a free, prosperous, and sovereign country needs to be able to feed, fuel, and defend itself.